Hey there, everybody. I am joined by Carl, and we're going to do the top 10 light side, and I'm sorry, top 20 light side virtual cards. We've got our coffee. We're ready to go. We even got a slide deck this time, so we're a little more high tech every time, a little bit better. Carl, do you want to say hi quick?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me back. These are my thoughts on 20 really good light side cards for new and returning players to kind of dive into to get into the virtual sets. These are my list, so let's just dive right into it.
Sure.
The first one I have is Take a Seat, Young Skywalker. It's a great example of offering a budget friendly option for new and returning players. Not quite as good as the Decipher cards, Speak with the Jedi Council, a Coruscant Rare. It does something slightly different, but shows how design uses virtual cards to reduce the barrier to entry for new players.
This is
So,
kind of a nice picture. It's sort of like it feels like a Clone War scene or something, right?
yeah, like arts and like the visuals they've had on these new virtual cards have just been amazing lately. And we've got a couple examples that I'll be showing about reusing some old Decipher images, coming up with new versions, alternate images. It's going to be a fun ride.
And so just for the folks that set that number 18 down there, that's the
Yep.
set. So this is virtual set 18. So I think
Yep.
virtual
And then reveal a random card from your hand to download onto table the Jedi Council Chamber, and then has some useful text that maybe is a loss function, but it's mostly get the Jedi Council Chamber onto table. So
that's a nice 3 force generation.
Mhm.
Cool. Let's see 19.
19 is a combo card. I must be allowed to speak in Smuggler Blues, but this image should be very familiar for some people who've been around the game for a while. It was a promotional image for Reflections 2 that I don't believe was ever made into a card. So Design was trying to create a
It was made into a giant card.
yeah, a
Very much
giant one, like
oversized
yeah,
version of this
huge.
card.
So they made it into a helper for Watch Your Step. It creates a slightly different engine, and Watch Your Step has had so many versions throughout the history of the game. This is a new one. It allows you to focus and it makes Corrin a smuggler. And every time that you play, or once per character, when you play Corrin, Mara, Mirax, or Talon cards, so four smugglers from that era on a Tatooine location, you may take one card into your hand from your used pile, and then you can download a Reflections to Tatooine location. So it's just another way to get another site on table. So
Which that's always like one of the big challenges with sort of retro formats is like if you don't find your sites, you're going to lose the
mhm,
game. Right? You need to find a mechanism of getting sites out,
yeah.
and so it's nice to have that sort of tech card built in here.
And then the last part is opponent may not cancel or modify force strains at battlegrounds where you have two smugglers. That can become very, important if they try to put, a card to reduce your force strain. If you have two smugglers, they can't do that. So that's why I put that on there.
Okay, cool.
So this is a new objective that was created, and it's centered around Episode 7 and expands into new intellectual property for the game. It's thematic as it centers around Jakku and it focuses on Rey and Han Solo. It also introduces a new vehicle that can flip into a starship. Commonly, it's known as the Flip Falcon, but it's a nice just kind of theme and format for the deck, and it's all centered around Jakku, which apparently everybody wants to go back to.
Hey, Rogue One is very hot right now, so this might be an objective, for example, for new players to sort of tinker around with, and maybe even we can do a deck video on sort of running this objective because this looks like fun and people like force.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It starts with Jakku. It allows you to pull your sites. It starts with a vehicle that can, you can either use it to control ground, you can send it up into space. It's a lot of fun. I'd be happy to like talk with you or give you some advice on some players who really are masters at that deck.
Sure. Okay, let's see 17 here. A classic.
So, Rebel Leadership V. How many times in retro formats do you curse the fact that Rebel Leadership just isn't as good as Imperial Command? Well, this virtual set 3 introduced a half slip that mirrors Imperial Command. Most of the game has mechanics that are mirrored on both sides of the Force. Both sides have sense, alter, control. There are times where one mechanic or theme is common on one side and not the other, like more direct damage for dark side, more retrieval for light side. The power of generals and admirals for the light side is now on equal footing with dark side thanks to this card. And it really is just a mirror of Imperial Command. But because take into hand and admiral, that's what that triangle means. And then you can add or limit battle destinies. So
I mean, this is just like such a good. I love Imperial Command. I just actually acquired 2 more of them because it's just so useful for getting stuff out of your deck.
Yeah, it's a use interrupt for. It's just great. Plus, it's a great image, and every time I play it, I just want to yell, "It's a trap," even if it has nothing to do with the time, just because of that image. So,
all right, let's see 16 here.
16 is an epic event that really is focused on creating new deck types around the Jedi from the 3 different eras of the movie. So you have Anakin for My Father Has It, Luke for I Have It, and Rey for You Have That Power. And it creates kind of a setup and a format where you have that central Jedi and one kind of supporting Jedi and Yoda. And then there's lots of cards to design and promote them and focus on what the core of the trilogy movies have all been about, the Skywalker saga. So this is just one that can give you a lot of opportunity to just build and have different decks and feel like you're, playing from an era of the 3 movies.
Cool.
15, Jyn Erso, another dip into a recent movie, Rogue One, which has a virtual objective centered around it called They Have No Idea We're Coming. You love and spies have been in the game for a while, love them or hate them. They've been an integral / controversial throughout the history of the game, dating back to the Decipher era. In retro, U3PO is huge, right?
Most obnoxious card in the game.
Yeah, and some people would agree with you on that. And, but having one that is so well designed, because you can play her, if it's covered, she can draw on her own. And it's just so thematic. The character is really well done from Rogue One, so I thought it needed to be on the list. Next, we have a shield. There is another. Defensive shields were introduced in Reflections 3 as a way to allow options against certain strategies to make them playable and not completely disrupt what you were trying to do as a player, with some limitations.
I'm seeing a little color commentary on defensive shields as a concept. They're also just a way of getting around of banning cards, right? Like it's like 15 abusive strategies that everybody hates, and it's like, okay. This is going to be the counter to inserts. This is going to be the counter to pod racing. This is going to be the counter to the Senate.
Yeah, and so shields, partially, but it's an option because you only get to play so many a game, so you have to think strategically about it, right? So this one was designed to bring some balance for light side against decks with Bring 'Em Before Me. You now have a choice. You can either give up Luke or Leia using this shield. If you want to give them Leia, the dark side does not lose force from the separate side of their objective, which, if Luke is captive, they lose a force for every turn. It allows you to have some choice and not completely take away your strategy. I put this on here because this just illustrates the balance that the design team has put when creating and using defensive shields.
I mean, I actually like it thematically. It's a fun idea. Like it's a good image. That's just like kind of that's over what the prisoner, the Reflections 3 prisoner 12 or 21
2198 or whatever 2187. It's actually on the card if we would read right there.
That's right. Reading comprehension over here Maya needs to improve. All right, let's see.
That's an important tip. Read your cards because that'll help you in this thing. The next one is We'll Take the Long Way. I selected this to illustrate how design tries to help decipher objectives of We Have a Plan or WAP. It ensures.
I used to love this objective. It's not good in retro formats, but it's fun in theory.
Well, design is here to try and help you make it good because it ensures you have access to Amidala, Panaka, and a system. And it makes Imperials deploy +1 to the Theed Palace throne room. And while you occupy a site, you may ignore your objections, location, deployment restrictions. So you're going to be able to deploy things to the throne room once you get someone there.
Oh, so you can grab a system and a leader. So okay, so you can grab either Panaka or Amidala, and then hopefully you draw the other one. Right, got it.
Yep. And then it's a way to just reduce the variance in the game and provide some stability with this objective because you need Amidala for that deck to really go.
Yeah, you do. I've lost. It's just very boring. You can't find her. You're running three of them, and they're like
Mhm.
$70 cards. And you're like, I can't afford a fourth in this deck.
Right. So this is a way that you can just run one or two.
Yeah.
Yep. Um, the next one is 0 Hour Liberation of Lothal. So this is recently released objective that's centered around another intellectual property called Star Wars Rebels. Other virtual sets have released characters from the show, so Captain Hera, Zeb, and Chopper. However, the release of this objective in set 19 really pulls it all together. It's a great example of the long-term view the PC has with releasing cards that may not see a lot of play right away, but are part of a larger scope that can really be pulled together. So um, it allows you to download your Lethal or deploy onto table your Lethal sites. And if you control three of them with Phoenix Squad characters or characters from the show, you flip, and then you get a bonus to your force strains. And once per turn during battle, you can add or subtract from a just drawn destiny. So it can help protect, or it can really put in some extra damage in a battle. So really thematic, great objective, and the images are really, really nice too. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge. I've said it many times on this channel. I love Star Wars Rebels. If you
yeah.
haven't seen it, go watch it. It is
Mhm.
very good. I think it's better than Clone Wars, personally, and it is not just a kid show.
Yeah,
FYI.
it is not. And I don't think that's too much of a hot take. It is just really well done.
Yeah, just really good.
Yep. Hear Me Baby Hold Together is in at number 11. So Star Wars cards have a lot of text, but designing one card that allows you to do a lot of little things can be incredibly helpful and ensure balance. This one allows you to pull an extra defensive shield. It's an example of this little S icon with a slash through it. It's immune to sense,
Mm.
that portion of the card. Or it can cancel a few specific cards, most notably hidden weapons. It also has a lost function that allow you to cancel ceasefire or a have you now, which can be powerful in certain matchups. Star Wars at its core is a game of point counterpoint. And if you think about it, think about the sense, alter, and control battles from the early days. So allowing players some flexibility in design to cover specific counters is intriguing from a deck building perspective, and just another great example. Plus, it's a premier common two that is like now incredibly helpful. So you can find this card easy.
Yeah.
Odin Nestler in First Aid. It's another combo
Love that
utility
picture of
card.
Luke. It's just my favorite picture of Luke. Just his like bandage face.
Yeah. So it's another combo card that can be really impactful throughout the game. It protects forfeit, it can prevent disarm, it can cancel reacts, and it has limited transportation. It's all like super useful stuff. And you can take one deck slot to do a lot of things rather than like having to dedicate 3 or 4 cards to do that one thing. Qui Gon Jinn, Serene Jedi. There have been other examples, but this was a player designed card that created an easier access to a persona of a mains character that is right up there with the best versions of Qui Gon. He's fully immune if alone, can play a powerful effect that has been virtualized in meditation, and adds to battle destiny draws for each weapon destiny that is drawn. I mean, just sign me up. Plus, while it's a Coruscant card, it's a Coruscant uncommon, so slightly easier to get. Plus, just look at that
It's funny.
image.
I was wondering why the Coruscant's a funny set. There's a couple uncommons that are very playable, like laser cannon batteries.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was looking, and for some reason, Control is like a $12 card on Category 1 games. I was like, why is this expensive? And
That
it's
right there.
because it's a virtual card. Okay, so this makes sense.
Yep. The next is Anakin Skywalker Padawan Learner. During the Decipher era, we never got Anakin as a playable card. So now we do. And it's just a super well-designed card that allows you to initiate battles for free, is a Padawan, so it can get around restrictions around decks that say no Jedi. It's one of the better pilots in the game because it adds 3 to the power of anything he pilots. And it's just efficient in battle because he adds 1 to each of his weapon draws and 1 to the total destiny. Deploy 5, forfeit 8. Anakin is such an integral part of the prequel trilogy and the Clone Wars show that this represents just all of those things and everything we love about the character in those IPs right there. So
What is the image below the warrior icon? So it goes pilot icon, warrior icon. What's the one below that?
I believe that is the one for the Republic.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just
Someone in the comments can quote me or can fix me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the Republic icon.
Okay.
Because episode 1's at the top. So
okay.
Or no, the Republic icon's up here.
Top left, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. I must be allowed to speak. It was originally designed to help the profit objective that gives you use pile pulls once per character for Chewie, Lando, Leia, or Luke on a Tatooine site. It also pulls a battleground in the Lars Moisture Farm. It is now used in several mains platforms because of the ability to find that key card when you need it is so critical, and use pile pulls can really help you find all the answers you need. Additionally, this card was part of this year's donation program to the PC, and it's just such a beautiful image. It's playable, but this update and new image is just something.
Yeah, I just got this in the mail. I just got my little donation package.
Patiently waiting on mine, but and I will. But this is just such a nice thing and a nice little way that the PC gives back to the community. So,
yep.
Escape Pod and We're Doomed.
I love We're Doomed as a card. I'll just throw that out there. I love We're Doomed as a card.
Yeah. Another card with a lot of tax, but as new players, finding a way to pull your Hoojix is really important. Darkside has had masterful moves since Premiere to pull their Gick, and 17 years later, Lightside finally got their answer. Making it a used interrupt that can also mitigate direct damage is really important. That's what some of the other effects on there, like Cloud City Occupation, Tatooine Occupation, that thing's operational. You may start your landing or you'll be dead, or all just ways Darkside have to give direct damage. This can help prevent that for a turn. It's also a Destiny 5, so you can play it and you can start tracking it around.
Cool.
Diplomatic mission to Alderaan. Virtual objective. Focus on delivering the Death Star plans to Alderaan. It allows you to start with the Tantive 4 on table and a version of R2. And then once the plans are delivered, you can pull any card from your reserve deck, and you get bonuses and battles for each site that you occupy with a rebel of ability less than 3. When I started playing online,
attack run. This is not for attack run. This is just for stealing plans.
This is just for stealing plans, but the image was one that was updated to kind of utilize that piece. So it takes Our Most Desperate Hour, which was, I believe, a Premiere effect, and it has it on the front side of the image. But it's so thematic. I mean, when A New Hope starts, this is the very beginning of it, and when I got into the game and started getting on GIMP, this was the deck that kind of drew me in because I like the idea of just delivering the plans to Alderaan and having the droids and the Tantive fulfilling its mission. There's just some satisfaction with it, so I put it on here.
Yeah.
Like my father before me, very powerful effect that allows you to pull Luke's lightsaber from the reserve deck or place a card in your hand on the top of your force pile. So it's a way to get really high Destiny cards back, from your hand back into your deck by placing on your force pile and then using that force to cycle it around. We know finding sabers are really important, and it's just really thematic because it also allows you to reliably pull your saber. It reduces the number of copies you have to have of Luke's saber in the deck, and it increases the battle Destiny draws by 1, which oddly enough is exactly what his father did with the OG Premier Darth Vader. So it's really like a nice little synergy within the card. And then last year, the PC did something really awesome. They had a Father's Day event to donate funding to cancer research. And if you played, you got an AI version of this, and that's what it looks like. The image is just beautiful. So it's little things like this, again, just minor updates, but this card is really powerful, and that image is just so good looking. Number 3, Ahsoka Tano, one of my favorite characters from Star Wars. It's a great example of the PC taking a beloved character from, a new intellectual property released after Decipher lost the license, and designing her to be right up there with one of the best cards in the game. Her text subtracts 1 from opponent's battle destinies. She's immune to permanent weapons. That's what that little slash icon at the very bottom of her text is, and has immunity less than 5. She has an ability that during any deploy phase, if a Padawan or Sith character at an adjacent site can make a move to that site as a regular move, it can create some very useful interactions, because then you can have characters you can deploy over during your deploy phase, and then be able to deploy characters in front of somebody. So very useful. And the PC last year introduced a bunch of really, really cool deck boxes, and this was one of the images put on there, and it was probably one of the most popular ones. Just such a great character, lover.
Yep, I got that deck box. It's my favorite.
Mm-hmm. Number 2 is Rey, the star of the sequel trilogy, paying homage to her scavenger origin, allowing her to scavenge a card from her use pile when deployed. It's just, she's one of the better pilots. She increases your total battle destiny by 1, and once per turn, you can draw the bottom card of your force pile. All of this for 4 force. She has, immunity to attrition less than 3, which is less than 6 if on Jakku. When building a deck in the open meta, if there isn't a restriction on playing her, like specifically says no resistance characters, you are often left asking yourself why you don't want to include her. Just such a well-designed card. And the underlying card is Corellia, which is a very, very easy to access card.
All right, number 1. I'm excited. Let's see what
number 1. Lockling.
Not surprising.
One of the first player design cards that is a near auto include in any deck that allows you to play starting effects. It increases your overall activation by 1. You can use 3 force to pull an effect that has no deploy cost, and you can play and plays on another card like Projection of Skywalker. And you can place the card out of play to retrieve 1 force. It's early activation, and it's essentially a force icon. Plus, you have an option to retrieve a key card if you lose it, and you can pitch it at the end to help if you're playing for differential. So just such an amazingly well-designed and impactful card. So
yeah, I love that may place out of play to retrieve 1 force. If you just are losing for a force drain off your reserve deck and you lose your win condition or something, right? You can grab it.
So that's my list of 20 light side cards for new and returning players to get to know, especially if you want to start playing in open.
Yeah, and so just a quick note here. I think we're going to do a couple more of these, maybe more objective focused or some other stuff. But please like and comment what you want to see from the open format. We'd like to kind of keep on exploring this theme a little bit. And like and subscribe. Check out the PC's channel. They have lots of resources there as well. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time.